Fox News, which Corey, I said I'd address it. I'm going to finish. Fox News, many viewers may not know about this, but apparently you do, and some do. Fox News, which has been caught in defamation, ran a false piece, falsely stating that I said something else that I didn't say. So I stand on that. I stand on the New York Times
quote.
So
you didn't say this bandage was a prop, a spectacle from a candidate who was obsessed with spectacles.
Mr. Lewandowski, I did not say that. That is a false quote.
Right here. It's clear.
What you have is a false quote.
What
you have is a false quote. And I'm putting you on notice. If you continue to repeat falsely that I said that, you will be potentially in a defamation situation because I didn't say that. But I understand that you're working off the internet, which is a lot of false information.
This is what it says
I wish you luck with that. And Corey Lewandowski, we gave you time.
So
I appreciate you coming on.
President for that.
Thank you for joining me.
Ari Melber over at MSNBC is known for having Republican and MAGA guests on his show from time to time. His audience has mixed feelings about it. Some of them think that he shouldn't be platforming people who are just going to sit there and lie and attempt to deceive his audience. Others think that those types of guests need to be called out for their misleading statements and challenged on certain things in real time, and Melber tends to be able to hold his own in that respect. They usually result in a few viral moments here and there, which ultimately benefit the show, because viral moments are good for ratings, and without good ratings, you don't have a show. You hope, however, that moments like that can be both viral and elucidating. When you work in news media, you're trying to tell a story and keep your audience informed, but you're also part of a business. So if you have any sort of journalistic integrity, you're constantly trying to balance those two aspects of your job. Well, Melber had Corey Lewandowski on his show The Beat last night, and even for a Trumpster guest, things, as you saw, got a little bit out of control.
I'm putting you on notice. If you continue to repeat falsely that I said that, you will be potentially in a defamation situation.
But before we dive into the interview itself, let's talk about Lewandowski first. He is the Trump campaign's new, old senior campaign manager. And as many commentators have already pointed out, the campaign must be absolutely desperate if this guy has been brought back into the fold.
Did you ever misrepresent what you did on behalf of the president?
I can't think of an instance where that would have occurred.
Let me show you an interview that you did May 14, 2019. Thank you.
I don't ever remember the president ever asking me to get involved with Jeff Sessions or the Department of Justice in any way, shape, or form ever.
Did you hear that, sir? That was you saying on MSNBC, you don't ever remember the president ever asking you to get involved with Jeff Sessions or the Department of Justice in any way, shape, or form. That wasn't true, was it, sir?
I heard that.
And that was not true, was it?
I have no obligation to be honest with the media because they're just as dishonest as anybody else.
So you're admitting, sir, you were not being truthful in that clip, correct?
My interview with Ari Melber?
Yes.
Can be interpreted any way you'd like.
Would you like me to play it again?
You're welcome to, please.
He was the mastermind behind Trump's 2016 campaign against Hillary Clinton, where his whole thing was to let Trump be Trump. Even though it didn't help Trump win the popular vote, he still ended up winning the election that year, so maybe Lewandowski was onto something. But he wasn't exactly someone the Trump campaign could afford to be associated with, and that's saying something. He had mocked a migrant child with Down syndrome during the whole fiasco when children were being separated from their parents at the southern border.
I mean, look, I read today about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about did you say want to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
What I said is you can pick anything you want out, but the bottom line is very clear.
How dare you?
And he was charged with sexually harassing the wife of a GOP donor at a charity event, touching the woman when and where she did not want to be touched, following her around the event, and making loud, inappropriate remarks towards her. Ultimately, he got out of the charges with a plea deal, but he was cut from the Trump campaign as a result. That said, Trump never fully distanced himself from Lewandowski because what does Trump care if a man has sexually harassed a woman? That's not anything to ruin a friendship over. Anyway, even with Lewandowski gone, Trump seemed to keep that whole let Trump be Trump energy, assuming that his bombastic personality would help him win his re-election campaign against Joe Biden. And isn't that mantra just a narcissist's dream? He doesn't need to be anything at all but himself, and the people will love him him so much because he's so awesome that they will just give him the highest office in the country. Well, it didn't work. He lost against Joe Biden in 2020, as you all know, so now Trump is trying again. And again, it's not working. He has to try the same strategy because he doesn't have any other strategy. What, he's suddenly going to be presidential and be able to speak on complicated and delicate matters in a way that both informs the public and allays fears? Perhaps it would have worked against an older and more frail Joe Biden, but against Kamala Harris, Trump is now the old man in the race who can't focus, who rambles, who seems incompetent and ill-informed. And so Lewandowski is back. Perhaps he has something new up his sleeve. During his appearance on The Beat, Melber asked him about RFK Jr.'s endorsement and RFK Jr.'s potential future role in the potential future Trump administration. He asked about Trump's stance on Project 2025 and his attempts to distance himself from the de facto Republican platform, and more. Lewandowski spent the entire interview mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name, which at this point has to be intentional. And for the most part, Lewandowski and Melber were able to have a cordial conversation. I'm not sure how productive it was, but that's typically what you get from these types of interviews with these types of people. The heated moment came when Melber asked Lewandowski about a September 2019 House hearing in which Lewandowski admitted to making false statements, saying he had, quote, no obligation to be honest with the media because they're just as dishonest as anybody else. Melber asked why the American people should believe anything he says when he's admitted to lying in the past. But instead of answering the question, Lewandowski claimed that Melber had made certain comments critical of Trump's giant ear bandage during the RNC. Melber attempted to redirect the conversation back to the question he had asked, but eventually he claimed that Lewandowski was referring to a false quote and that Lewandowski's source for the false quote, Fox News, has a history of defamation. As Lewandowski pressed the matter, Melber ended the interview, but not before threatening Lewandowski with his own defamation suit. Melber, by the way, is a lawyer, so he wouldn't be one to discuss litigation lightly. As for the false quote in question, Melber had himself been quoting a piece in the New York Times and offering his analysis on it during MSNBC's coverage of the RNC. Lewandowski is doing exactly what the Trump campaign hired him to do. He's being inflammatory. He's making headlines about things unrelated to the actual Trump campaign and its policies, and he's deflecting from the facts that Trump is showing signs of undeniable mental decline in every public appearance he makes, and that Trump is falling steadily in the polls across various demographics. Lewandowski shared the exchange to his followers on X, and as of me recording this, it looks like MSNBC has scrubbed the controversial bit from its YouTube channel, posting a chunk of the interview, but not all of it. Don't fall for any of it. We've only got 2 months more between now and November. Let's keep our focus on the things that really matter. That's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.